Good morning, everyone. Shannon with Apogee of the Moon, bringing you a weekly forecast. Another one. This one's pretty intense too, just like this past week. So this is for October 10th through October 16th, and I'm going to talk about the general overview. And then, so the way I've been structuring this is that I talk about what's going on throughout the week in terms of the general energies of each of the aspects that are being made, and then I pick one or two depending and go through each sign and the significance of that placement for each sign. So this one, I mean, we have some really intense energy coming up, so it's gonna yeah, okay, so we'll dive in and we'll see if we can't get through this. I write the blog post or the written forecast, not for each sign, but just in the general energies. I write that usually 2-3 days before I do the video. And when I was writing it this week, I didn't want to write it. So I'm not really feeling the warm and fuzzies. Let's just put it that way. There's not really any warm for this week. There's some good energy though. There is. So the beginning of the week it does start out more positive in terms of a little bit of shake-up energy, liberating energy with Uranus and Venus. I think that's today. Saturday? Is today Saturday? I don't even know what day it is, to be honest. I'm just living in this like in-between place. I don't know, maybe like liminal space or something. I don't know. But I'll share my screen, and that way you don't have to look at my ugly mug for too long. And I'm only half joking when I say that, so don't take it too seriously. Okay, so this should be shared. So on October 10th, this week we have Venus in trine with Uranus. So this is really fun. I actually really like this aspect, and I really liked writing about it. So this is an interesting aspect. So this aspect actually, this is kind of a fun one. So this is the planet, Venus is the planet of love and money, and it's in a harmonious aspect with the planet of freedom and liberation, right? So if you boil it all down into a nutshell, what is it? They're both in earth signs, right? So Uranus is in Taurus, which is Venus ruled, by the way. So she's making a positive aspect, giving support to Uranus in terms of her energy and her sign. Oops, right here. Stop my alarms from going off. Make sure I wake my butt up. And then, but Venus herself, she is in the very detail-oriented, pragmatic sign of Virgo. So there's that. But she's offering Uranus some support, if not a little nagging support. And I'll say it that way. I have plenty of Virgo people in my life that I can say that with accuracy. Love ya. Uranus has been retrograde. So he's actually getting some, much needed love from Venus. And this is a positive in terms of an easy aspect. This is a trine, so definitely pay attention. You could miss something with a trine. It's just an easy kind of breath of fresh air. But I mean, with everything that's going on this year, maybe the trines are going to be more noticeable than not. So this could see us tackling projects in a new and innovative way. This could see us also with Venus in trine with Uranus. This could see us coming up with an idea or implementing something in, say, a business or a project or something like that, that will bring us more money in a different way than what we're used to, depending on where this shows up for you in your chart. Because this is a fleeting energy though, and I want to, we do have some positives throughout the kind of sprinkled throughout the week. It's almost like, the great creator decided that, it wasn't going to make 2020 too much of a shit show. other than what it already is, but it's sorry for the language. Ooh, I used to wash my potty mouth, but I have a potty mouth, so deal with it. But this aspect, I mean, this could see money coming in a different way. This could see money coming in a slightly disruptive way, but it's not so disruptive that it's going to cause problems. It's more of like a hey, here's $100, woo, you know, that kind of thing. It could see relationships, different relationships coming into your life too, or a fleeting kind of, you know, Uranian energy coming through. I like Uranian energy. There's my descendant, so of course I like Uranian energy. But there's that. And then on the 11th, we have the sun starting its square with the stellium. So this comes exact on the 11th at 9:34 a.m. That one I will say. I'm looking at my calendar here, and it has the time. So Jupiter is direct. He is crawling. He's not sprinting yet, but he is crawling forward, so he is direct. And the sun square Jupiter, well, it's not the worst aspect in the world in terms of squares, because it is Jupiter and he is a great benefic. He has been through the ringer and he is in Capricorn. So, you know, he's been conjunct to Saturn. He's been conjunct to Pluto twice now. He's heading for his third and final, you know, conjunction with Pluto. And so add in the other two planets, right? So add in Saturn and Pluto into the mix in terms of the sun squaring Jupiter, because he is technically conjunct both of those. Albeit a wide conjunction with Saturn, he's closer to Pluto, but it's still that energy. It's you can't really tear it apart. It's still that very oppressive, very you know, power, control, that kind of thing. And Jupiter just usually just expands whatever it touches, so it's making it that much more so. So with the sun in square, the sun in Libra right now it's seeking balance and harmony, right? But now it's in square, and a square is a hard aspect. A square is one of those aspects where it requires you to push through in terms of any limiting things that are going on, in terms of where it is that you are feeling that frustration, and where it is that there's this huge irritation in your life. And because squares are a major aspect, right? So it won't be like this little teeny little irritation over here. Oh no, it's going to be in your face. So the sun, you know, in Libra is a balance seeking sign, trying to find balance. The sun wants balance. It wants diplomacy. It wants all of that. But in square, especially to Jupiter and the rest of the other planets coming in, you know, throughout the week, because it will square Pluto a couple days later. You know, Jupiter's been beat up. He's been put through the ringer with conjuncting Saturn and Pluto. And this could definitely see people trying to throw the yoke in terms of that oppressive energy. It could see people using their willpower, their stamina, especially with that Mars, you know, up in Aries, being retrograde. He's kind of throwing his little temper tantrum up there. You know, this could see some people trying to throw off the yoke of oppression that we've seen this year. And people literally are at their breaking points of this forced subjugation on all things free, in terms of, you know, around the world, but especially here in the United States. There's been upheaval everywhere, and everyone has felt it. And even people that are not directly affected by the violence, by, you know, the things that are actually going on, they're starting to feel it. They're starting to feel that burden of limitation and restriction. So really, this is just the beginning of the square of the sun to those planets in Capricorn. So on October 12th, we do have Jupiter coming into a sextile with Neptune. So this is the third and final pass of this. And this is kind of offering up, I mean, granted, you know, we've seen the lies, we've seen the, you know, the different things going on with the media and the different things going on with, how do I want to put this? I'm just getting started, so I really don't feel like being censored. But I mean, everything going on with this virus that's out there. And new information has been coming to light about it, and that there's some very interesting information if you do your research and if you look into different channels other than the mainstream, of the fact that they have not been able to truly pinpoint whether or not it's actually a virus, and it is what they say it is. So there's that. So the sextile to Jupiter, though, with Neptune and Jupiter, I mean, this is a time to really dig into your spiritual self. This is a time to dig into your spiritual life. This is a time to meditate. This is a time to ground yourself. And if you don't know what that means, look up the word on grounding. Look up the word on earthing, even, because there is an example would be earlier this summer. I was around somebody that had a lot of anxiety and anxious, volatile energy that they hadn't been dealing with for pretty much their lifetime. And it's starting to come to a head because of their age. It's starting to come to a head because of certain things that are being released in their, you know, in their chart and in their life even, and it's time to be dealt with. And the way I'm set up is that I tend to take things sometimes from people if I'm not careful. So all I did was take my shoes and socks off and walk around on barefoot on the ground, on the gravel, on the grass, you know, touching trees and doing that, and just grounding yourself with the energy of nature and being in nature itself. This would be a good time to do that, especially because Jupiter is in an earth sign. So you can really pull in that, singly focus on Jupiter and luck and prosperity, and focus on the earth itself and being in nature, even being by a small body of water, a stream, a brook, a river, you know, even a lake or anything like that, or the ocean if you can. But just, you know, have a bare part of your body, your feet, you know, your arms, whatever, just put yourself physically in nature, roll around in the mud, you know, I mean, do it. It's this Jupiter sextile Neptune is asking you to bring yourself down out of the upper areas of your chakras, up from, you know, bringing you back down at the core level of grounding yourself and really rooting yourself into the here, into the now, into the physicality. You're going to need to for what's coming, okay? And there's nothing left to chance. This is the law. And, you know, anything that is called chance or happenstance is just the law not recognized, right? So with this aspect, you know, it's Jupiter will be moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius and into Pisces later next year. But right now, you need to ground yourself with this aspect. You know, you need to prepare. This is a preparation aspect as far as I'm concerned. A sextile is a preparation. You need to focus on it and you need to do it. Ground yourself, earth, if you can, you know, I mean, find a park if you're in a city, you know, find a tree and just hug a tree. You know what I mean? Go tree hugging, whatever, who cares? Who cares what you look like? Do what you need to do. Salt baths, even like Epsom salt baths, stuff like that. On the same day, we do have Venus in a nice sextile with Mercury. And I mean, Mercury is stationing to go retrograde the following day on October 13th. However, which is really interesting to me historically on October 13th, but I don't know if I want to talk about that. So, but Venus being in sextile with Mercury, this is also an action-oriented, like you got to take action on it. So Venus sextile to Mercury, Mercury is in the water sign of Scorpio, about to go retrograde, so about to really dig in with these hard truths that need to be faced. Venus in Virgo is asking you to really look at the details and really understand and not be anxious, right? So we have two sextiles happening on the same day, to Earth and to water, right? So Jupiter and Venus are both in Earth signs, Neptune and Mercury are both in water signs. This is really what this is asking you to do, is to get grounded and prepare, right? So on the 12th, if you can get out in nature, definitely. Venus with Mercury, I mean, Venus is in Virgo. Virgo is the 6th house of service. This is also like Virgo, I see also as a merchant, right? And Mercury in Scorpio, this is very deep, like psychological. So I would say if you have a business as well, in terms of these two aspects, I would be focusing on your business, minding your business, right? Put your mind on your business and really get deep and understand where it is that you are and where you want to go with this aspect as well. Following the 13th, we have the Sun opposing Mars and Mercury stationing to go retrograde. So, Mercury's going retrograde. And so this, I mean, there could be arguments, disputes, especially with Mars, you know, the Sun opposing Mars at the same, pretty much the same time that Mercury is going retrograde, the Sun is opposing Mars. So this is arguments and disputes and competition or anything like that that's going to be happening over the course of the next 3 weeks, you know, because when aspects happen at the same time, there's generally an energy that's carried through. So just make sure that you're positive that the fight that you're in is actually worth the trouble that you're taking to fight it, right? Try, though, to defer any arguments or disputes until after Mars goes direct, because if you initiate an argument, if you are being passive aggressive about things and you're trying to, if you're being passive aggressive and you're trying to incite someone to come at you, expect that you're still going to lose, because being passive aggressive is the same thing as going after someone. I mean, just cool your freaking jets, you know, like use this time to really understand where it is that you're being triggered, why you're being triggered at the same time, and why it is that you're feeling fired up and annoyed by people. But don't take it out on people. Understand yourself first before you go after someone else, because it's probably an unconscious pattern that you've been faced with over the course of your lifetime, you know, not having to do with this person, but having to do with maybe some narcissistic bullshit that you got going on in your own head, right? Sorry, that was a tangent. So a way, though, to kind of mitigate the Sun opposing Mars, if you are feeling fired up, if you are feeling like you want to start a fight, if you are feeling like you want to get into an altercation with someone or have an argument or whatever, work it out in your body. Either go for a run, you know, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some calisthenics, do something that's going to get your heart rate up and get your blood pumping, because Mars is, you know what I mean? Mars is that action kind of thing. And when we get fired up and angry, it's very similar, different endorphins released in terms of working out, but it's similar, like energetically, if you understand what I'm saying that. So also with Mercury stationing retrograde on this day is the same day that the Sun is opposing Mars, you want to watch what you're saying, because you may come about when Mercury goes direct in a few weeks, you may be eating your words. Okay, so you just need to remember that Mercury is going to be in Scorpio for part of this retrograde. It will be in Libra, which is very much trying to be balanced and diplomatic, but it's going to come into a hard square with that Saturn at the end of its retrograde when it stations to go direct. So the intensity of speaking words now may lead to harsher reprimands or harsher action being taken against you when Mercury stations in square with Saturn. So be very cognizant of what it is that you're saying and why you're saying it, and choose your words. Choose to respond rather than to react if something's been irritating you or eating at you or, you know, whatnot. On the 15th, we have the Sun square Pluto. Ugh, I hate this aspect. So, so I have this aspect natally, and this is a really tough one because it's generally a very frustrating aspect, and it's very much a power and control aspect in terms of the Sun, which is your energy, your vitality, your life force, in square with Pluto, right? The planet of power and control, power and control. And it's a very frustrating aspect for you and for other people. This could see you really butting heads and fighting for control of something or fighting for dominance over something. And so with Mars in retrograde, again, you really do not want to start any arguments. You don't want to make any power plays, anything like that, because you will lose. And it's that simple. And you need to remember that you are your own whole and sovereign being, and you need to act as such. Like, this is very much responsibility, you know, on fleek. This is showing people where they need to take back their own personal power in this lifetime, and in the here and the now with everything that's going on. You need to understand your automatic responses. You need to understand where it is that your temper gets in the way because of some trauma that happened when you were a child or when you were a young adult. You know, whatever happened and you're just reacting, you need to get deeper with yourself and understand where that reaction comes from and learn how to respond from a place of non-attachment, which is really hard. I'm not like, I don't say that and mean to sound flippant about it, but it really is freaking hard. We get attached to people, we get attached to things, we get attached to certain ways of living. And when we have to let go of something or surrender, which I'll get into for the new moon in Libra, you know, it's kind of like trying to take a toy from a 2-year-old. And it really is. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you get told no, and you get that toy, that shiny thing that you love so much taken away from you, what's going to happen? You're going to have a meltdown. You're going to have a tantrum. I'm just saying. So now we go to Friday. Friday. And this is what I'm going to be covering in the, this is going to be a really long video, and I'm so sorry for that. I'm long-winded today. So I'm going to be covering the new moon in Libra for all 12 signs because of how intense this is to square that's going on. So while new moons are usually about new beginnings and moving forward with something new, this new moon ultimately, because of the aspects that it's making, is going to ask you to surrender something to move forward. This is like I don't want to call it a test, because the universe doesn't test you, right? The universe does not test you in terms of, you know, do you really want this? Well, then you have to give up this, right? Like, it's not like that, but this energy is like that in terms of you have automatic responses, you have idiosyncrasies, you have emotional, chemical addictions that need to be given up in order to step forward, right? So this new moon it's almost like the full moon, and it's also at perigee, right? So this is a super new moon, and I'm just going to say that this is a super new moon. Moon at perigee is when the moon is at its closest to the earth, right? So it's kind of like when you see the super moon versus the mini moon, the moon at apogee, name of my business. So moon at perigee is when the moon is at the closest. This is when emotions run higher. This is when the moon, we see storm surge, we see higher tides, we see, you know what I mean? And we are beings of water. So yes, it's going to affect us. And this new moon is, the aspects that it's making, it's even more intense. So this new moon is in Libra. The new moon is ruled by Venus, right? So the sun and the moon are in Libra, which means that the ruling planet of the sign is Venus, right? So, and she is, even though she's in triplicity, she doesn't necessarily function as well in Virgo, so you have to look at that as well. The chart that I have for this new moon, I mean, you can see it, it's close to where I live, so it's, the ruling planet would be Uranus because of where I live, but it could be different depending on where you live in the world, whether or not you're in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, you know, whether or not you're on Eastern Standard Time or, you know, what have you. But this moon is very intense. So we have the sun, the new moon, so the sun and the moon together, right? So that's why we call it a new moon, conjunct. So they are in square to the stellium in Capricorn and in opposition to Mars retrograde. So this is forming a T-square, albeit a loose T-square. It's closer to an actual, like a very tight square between Saturn and Pluto. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about, is this square between the new moon and those two planets for all signs. A new moon lasts for, you know, roughly 28 days, because that's how long it takes for the moon to go through its cycle to come new again. So over the next 28 days, starting from October 16th and even like a day or two before, because it's the energy of the new moon is kind of strong. It's strongest at that point, but it's a day or two before and a day or two after that you're really going to start to sense what's happening and what's going on. This is going to test your self-worth. This is going to test your sense of self, of who you are and who you've been. This is going to test your attachments, both to the past and the future. This is going to test your willingness or unwillingness to let go and move into the future versus clinging to said past, right? And there's, you know, there's this sense that hell is rising with this moon. And I say that, my personal belief system, hell is what you make it, not necessarily a specific place and time. But this is the sense that there is definitely ultimatums and just roughness coming. Very, very roughness. So this new moon, it may be the beginning of something, right, as all new moons are, but this is going to require you to have an iron core will, right? The iron core will. This is going to require you to really understand who you are, what you're willing to tolerate, where you stand, where you have given up your power and control and where you need to take it back, or where you have taken too much power and control and you need to give it back. It's going to require determination. Like, it's going to require that steadfast, put your head down, nose to the grindstone, and work for it. And this is going to require like an iron core, you know, iron core will, self-determination, that kind of thing. Pluto's going to ask you to surrender something. Saturn is going to ask you to assert yourself in the correct way, not in the fast way, but the correct way, and challenge you to value yourself and value your emotions and stand up for what you value. So that's part of that. Just going through my notes. I'm trying to stay on track and not go off on tangents. So as you can see, this intro is very long. So we can also see the shedding or the shredding of the false ego with this aspect, and people removing the masks that they have worn for decades, you know, for their lifetime even. It's a time of growth. It's a time of truth, right? And truth, people are like, oh, truth, right? Yeah, we want the truth. No, you can't handle the truth sometimes, right? Like it goes back to that A Few Good Men with Jack Nicholson telling Tom Cruise, you can't handle the truth, right? It's like that. But this is a hard truth, right? Because it is a square. And this is where it is that you need to step up. Where is it in your life you need to actually step up and own yourself, and where you need to take the responsibility that you need to take for that, for how you've gotten to the point that you've gotten to. This is also where you need to step out of the past of your own mistakes. Stop holding on to the past, right? This is owning your mistakes, but moving forward better, right? This is, the future's unknown and it is emerging, right? So we're entering a whole brand new world over the coming years. And where is it that you can lead by example and own yourself? And I'm not saying like be narcissistic. I'm not saying, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying own you in all your glory, in all your fuckery, right? Like own you. You're a whole human being and act as such, right? Like who cares if you are a complete nerd and you like, you secretly watch astronomy shows? Who gives a freaking rat's ass, right? Like who cares if you play with toys? Who cares? Be you, do you, own it. That's ultimately what I'm saying. And I'm getting really fired up. Wow. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to get into, if I can move this here. So we're going to get into all 12 signs now. So this is where the fun starts. And I did paste this on, I mean, like, you know what I'm talking about. I paste the chart on here that you've been staring at probably for the last, I don't know how long. So we're going to start with Aries and Aries rising. So this new moon in Libra is actually in your 7th house. However, it is in square with Saturn and Pluto in your 10th house. So what is the 7th house? The 7th house is relationships, is marriage partners, is business partners, and your close personal one-on-one relationships with people, your clients, even if you have clients. Your 10th house is your career, is your legacy. It's how you're known in the world. So there is something in that 10th house of how you're known in the world, of, who you are out in the bigger, wider thing, how the public sees you. There is something here that Saturn and Pluto is asking you to surrender and let go of in order to move forward with, a marriage partner or a relationship or a business contract or something like that. So this is really going to have you evaluating and reevaluating, especially because Mercury is already stationed retrograde by the time this new moon comes around. And he's stationed at 11 degrees and he's still at 11 degrees on this day. So it's really asking you to truly think and understand and evaluate who you are in partnership, and let go and surrender something from that 10th house of legacy. What is it that what is it that you truly want to leave behind? What is it that you truly want to be known for? How do you want to be known? But how is that affecting your relationships with other people? How is that affecting your marriage? How, if you're married? How is that affecting your business partnerships if you have a business? How is that affecting your clients if you have a business? Right? So this is what this new moon is about: surrender. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to be tough, and it's going to be fraught with tension and power and control, and getting that deeper understanding of who you are in relation to other people and how you're known in the world. Like this energy is, while Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter have all been here, right? It's also, this new moon is squaring this last part of of Saturn, especially in Libra, because we're still going to have, you know, the sun squaring Pluto over, you know, another couple of years, right? Like it's not that the sun's not going to square Pluto in Capricorn every time it hits. It's going to square Pluto in Capricorn several times over the course of the next few years, right? Because it's it moves very slow as an outer planet. It takes a long time to move. So there's that. But for you, Aries, especially because you have Mars going retrograde in your sign, this is a huge evaluation of who you are completely. Like who are you anymore? Do you even know? Do you know, Aries? Do you know who you are? It's under revision, all of it. With this T-square going on, especially, this is really asking you to surrender long-held standing beliefs and the automatic responses that you have gone through, and understand that maybe what you've done in terms of that 10th house, maybe there's stuff that you're embarrassed about that people know about, right? Who cares? Let it go. This is asking you to surrender and release the past, right? Because Saturn is also the past. Pluto is about surrender. So this could be surrendering something in terms of what you've done in the past that is known, right? Because it's your 10th house. It's the top of your chart. So there's that. And that's how it could show up. Like it's very intense though. Like the feeling that I get from this new moon is very intense, and it's very anxiety ridden. And this is over the course of the next 28 days, right? So next Friday is going to be, can't wait to see what happens. Taurus and Taurus rising. This new moon in Libra is squaring Pluto and Saturn in your 9th house. So what is the 6th house? The 6th house is your health, your wellness, your mental wellness, your daily routines, how you show up in service of other people. And your 9th house is education, is travel, is foreigners or foreign countries. This is, you know, very much the teachers in our lives. So for you, this new moon is really asking you to surrender something in terms of 9th house things. This could see you having, this could see you having to give up, definitely, traveling to be of service to someone. This could see you having to this is asking you to give up something in realm of that 9th house or 6th house. I'm sorry. No, 9th house. Yes, sorry. Wow. I'm like losing my mind over here. So where Jupiter and Saturn is, this is letting go of the past. This is letting go of control and surrendering to something that's coming in terms of that 6th house. Maybe you've been suffering with, you know, health problems. Maybe you've been suffering with issues surrounding your health or surrounding your mental health even. Maybe you've had to, no, do not come over here, please. Sorry, my son woke up. Maybe you've had to, maybe you've had some health issues, and maybe you need to surrender something that you've been doing in that 9th house. Maybe you've been traveling a lot. Maybe you've been traveling for work, but maybe you need to find a new job in that 6th house realm to be able to be home more and to be able to, you know, take care of yourself or take care of someone else in terms of that. So there's that. And for Gemini and for Gemini rising, this new moon is happening in your 5th house, squaring that 8th house, Pluto and Saturn. So what is your 5th house? Your 5th house is your fun, is your play, is your hobbies, is your children, right? So and the 8th house is your shared resources, other people's money, death, taxes, inheritance, insurance claims. So maybe you've been dealing with something in terms of that 8th house you've been dealing with it for a while now, right? So maybe in terms of that, maybe this new moon, you're going to creatively find a way to release whatever's been going on in that 8th house for you. You're going to creatively figure something out. And I mean, this could be a new beginning in terms of, because it is your 5th house, maybe this new beginning isn't for you. Maybe you need to release something in terms of that trauma, in terms of that 8th house, Pluto, Saturn. You need to release the past and understand that there's a new beginning happening for your child. Period. End of story. There's a new beginning that's coming for your child, because this is your 5th house if you have children. And, you know, you've been dealing with a lot there in terms of the 8th house and the traumas and the wounds and, you know, trying to heal from that. Yes, I'm doing my astrology video, baby. Sorry. I am a mom, by the way. So, yeah, this could be children. This could have to do with a new beginning in terms of your child's life. This could be you starting a new hobby. You know what I mean? And really understanding who you are as a creative person in lieu of the traumas and insecurities that you have faced over the course of the last several years. Maybe this is a new beginning for you in terms of romance, right? Maybe there's somebody new coming in. Maybe you're finalizing a divorce and there's somebody new that's coming in for you that is very playful and very healing for you, right? So there is that, you know, maybe insurance claims. Maybe your spouse, because it's 8th house, did something and really kind of screwed up the finances because of some accident that they had, or, you know, maybe they did something with their 401k or something like that. And so now you've had to deal with this over the course of the last several, you know, few years now. And this new moon is a creative way for you to, you know, find something that you can do in terms of creativeness and something to release that stress and anxiety. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, this new moon is happening in your 4th house, and it's squaring the Saturn and Pluto conjunction in your 7th house. And the reason I'm not focusing on Jupiter is because even though it is in square, it's a separating square, and it's actually in between Saturn and Pluto. So the sun and moon are at 23, almost 24 degrees of Libra. Jupiter. Pluto is at almost 23 and Saturn is at almost 26. So it's in between the square of Pluto and Saturn. So that's why I'm focusing on those two and not Jupiter as well. Just keep in the back of your mind, though, that Jupiter can kind of expand things and blow things out of proportion in terms of this conjunction. So your 4th house. So what is your 4th house? Your 4th house is home, family, property, ancestors. This is your maternal line. This is your mother. This is any woman that is in your life that has a maternal relationship with you, matriarchal, right? Your 7th house is your close personal relationships, your business partnerships, your clients. This is also long-standing friendships as well. And so this new moon in your 4th house of home, family, property, ancestors, and your maternal line is a new beginning here, but you're going to have to surrender something in terms of that 7th house, in terms of business partnerships. It's asking you to, this is like the final, it's almost like a finalization, right, of stuff that you've been going through in terms of that 7th house relationship thing. And to be able to begin anew, you have to really surrender and let go of the past, right? I mean, Pluto's involved, it's trauma. Saturn's involved, it's the past. It's letting go of the trauma, even maybe releasing trauma from your maternal line and healing trauma from your maternal line. This could also be something that's coming up as well, and truly understanding the feminine principle, and maybe working with, you know, people surrounding releasing of trauma of, you know, of the feminine. Could be that too. For Leo and for Leo rising, so this new moon is happening in your third house, squaring the planets of Saturn and Pluto in your sixth house. So what is the third house? The third house is communication, is local travel, small business, neighbors, siblings. And this is also like your thought patterns. This is your local community, right? And how you move about your local community. This could also be vehicles. Now, your sixth house is your daily routines, your wellness, your mental wellness even. So there's like the kind of this dual aspect going on with kind of mental things, right? And for Leos, Saturn rules your sixth house. So this is also your acts of service. Now, for this square, this new moon in Libra, no, please stop, please stop. I love you. Just wait a few minutes. I'm almost done, okay? So in terms of this new moon is this new moon in your third house. I mean, this could be a new vehicle. This could be this could be you doing something with your business, with your small business, if you have one. This could be something new that's coming in for your siblings, or something new that's happening with your neighbors. But this also could be a new moon in your third house. This could help change how you think about things. This could change how the smaller daily details of things, right? How you think about them. So that's that. And in square to Pluto and Saturn in your sixth house, this could be you having to give up something in terms of, walking away from the past, walking away from something that's going on in that sixth house of how you're showing up in service. This could be a job that you're walking away from because it's too stressful, or it could be that maybe you get a new job and you have to walk away from an old one. But to do that, you need to surrender something as well. Maybe it's surrendering a specific mental thought pattern that you have. Maybe it's surrendering a structured, your day is very structured in terms of your daily routine. So maybe you need to surrender something and you need to have a different routine moving forward in terms of that. But there's a surrender that needs to happen in this one area, in the Capricorn area of your sixth house, to start that new beginning in your third house. So that's really what this new moon is highlighting and showing you. And over the course of the next 28 days, you're going to really see it, and it's going to be very stressful. You're going to have to make sure that you're showing up 100% as you, and walking away from the past, walking away from what doesn't serve you with that Saturn, and making sure that you, even through the frustration, you're surrendering to what is happening, and not balking at it, and not trying to throw up the walls and say no, right? So for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this new moon is happening in your second house, and it's squaring your fifth house. So granted, your fifth house is in trine with your sun, moon, or ascendant, depending on if you're late degrees Virgo rising or late degree sun Virgo. But in terms of everyone really that is a Virgo rising, your second house is your possessions and what you value. This is also your self-worth, right? So this is your money, your materials, and your possessions, but it's also you and what you value, your self-worth, right? So I don't really know how to hit that home. So this new moon is asking you to surrender something in terms of that fifth house of, children, fun, play, hobbies, love interests, lovers even. So there's a surrender and a walking away that needs to happen in terms of that fifth house to be able to move forward with the new beginning that's going to be happening in your second house over the course of the next month. and even really over the course of the next, 6 months, because we have to look at the full moon that happens, when we're in Aries season. Please. So there's that, and there's a surrender that needs to happen for you in terms of what is it that you truly value, where is it that you have been out of balance, because that is a Libra thing. Where is it that you need to come back into balance, or how can you come back into balance in terms of surrendering the past and letting go of any traumas, that's Pluto, letting go of any stuck stagnant energy, that's Saturn, and really understanding your own personal self-worth, your own sovereignty, right? Your value in terms of what you contribute to the world. So there is that. So there's that square aspect asking for you to really evaluate and understand where even some of your vices are. So for Libra and for Libra rising, this new moon is happening in your sign, Libra. Whew, man, that's intense. So because it's squaring Pluto and Saturn in your 4th house, Libra. So this is you, your body, yourself as a whole being, right? Like you, Libra. If your ascendant is at those end degrees of Libra. Your 4th house is your home, your family, your property, your lineage, your maternal line. So this is asking you, because Saturn and Pluto, and it's in a separating aspect and separating square of Jupiter. So we're not going to talk about Jupiter. We're just going to talk about the Pluto Saturn. And Pluto asks you to surrender. Pluto is also trauma. Saturn is restriction. Saturn is the past. So this new moon in your sign, Libra, of you is asking you to surrender any traumas, any restrictions, anything from the past. And I mean, this can literally be past traumas, asking you to surrender that going forward as a whole sovereign being in and of yourself, Libra. So it's intense, and it's going to take a deep dive for you, because you have Mercury that's retrograde right now in Scorpio, in your sense of self-worth and what you're contributing to the world. And it's going to dip back into Libra, dip back into your sign. And if you're anywhere from, 25 to 30 degrees of a Libra sun, moon, or ascendant, this is really going to get you, I mean, because it's going retrograde in Scorpio, it's carrying that energy back with it. And for you to really understand where it is your traumas and insecurities are, because this new moon is in square with Saturn and Pluto. This is traumas of the past, of the maternal, of, this could be traumas of you. This could be traumas of your mother. This could be traumas of the maternal line, and where you need to heal that maternal line in and of itself to be able to move forward and step into who you truly are as a sovereign being in this lifetime. There's that. So Scorpio and Scorpio rising. So this new moon in Libra is happening in your 12th house, and it's squaring Pluto and Saturn in your 3rd house. So what is the 12th house? The 12th house is dreams. It's also endings. It's retreats. It's hospitals. It's prisons. It's ashrams. It's seclusion, right? So it's something also, the 12th house is also karma from the past. And maybe not even the past in terms of this lifetime, but it could be the accumulated karma that you have throughout the lifetimes that you have lived on this planet, or in, as a human being. The 3rd house is your local travel, is your vehicles, is your siblings, is your neighbors, is your small business. So there's a surrender, and there's a walking away from something of the past in terms of traumas and limitations in that 3rd house of, maybe you have a sibling, a long lost sibling, or you have, you've had huge arguments and huge disputes with siblings, or maybe you have a sibling that has been really sick. And so there's something that's, this new moon is asking you to surrender something in terms of that third house of also how you're communicating. Maybe you're not communicating in such a way that you need to. Maybe your point isn't coming across the way it needs to. Maybe you've been so, mired down, and you've been stuck, and you've been stagnant, and you've been traumatized somehow in terms of communicating with the people in your area, in your groups, in your, in your community, even your neighbors and your siblings or extended family of cousins. This could very well too be like a car accident, right? Like I'm gonna say that, but like this could definitely be like a fender bender, and it's an ending for that vehicle, and you need a new vehicle now, that kind of thing. But this is also like this new moon in your 12th house. This is also a very spiritual house. You could see that maybe there's something that opens up for you as a Scorpio rising in terms of your dreams. Maybe there's something that's happening there that is opening your dream life in terms of even prophetic dreams. Or maybe you're having nightmares of the past, right? Because that Pluto and Saturn, that's trauma and that's the past. Maybe you could be having nightmares, right, over the course of the next several weeks. But those nightmares are really here to inform you of something that you need to let go in that 12th house sector for something new to come in. In that sense, this is also like maybe there's a new, 12th house is hospitals and prisons. Maybe you're starting a new job at a hospital or a prison, but it's going to require you to really let go of something to do with how you think of something traumatic from the past. Or maybe it's something that happened traumatically in the past in terms of hospitals or prisons or, retreats or foreign countries or something like that. And it's asking you to surrender and let go of that trauma and that cycle in your head. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this is happening. This new moon is happening. What? Man, I don't even know what I was thinking with this. So don't pay any attention to that 5th and 2nd because it's 11th and 2nd. I don't even know what I was thinking. Apparently I was not thinking Sagittarius when I wrote that. So this is actually the 11th house. So Libra is Sagittarius's 11th house. So this is actually your social circles, the people that you surround yourself with. This is the groups and organizations that you belong to. This is your hopes, your wishes, your dreams even. This is the gains you get from that 10th house as well. This is the money that you make from that 10th house. And it's squaring your 2nd house. So maybe for you, this is also like your 2nd house is like what you value. This is even your value, like what you contribute to the world. So maybe there's some traumatic thing or some traumatic event or something that's limiting you, something that's been very traumatic for you that you need to release in order to move forward with 11th house things of maybe getting new friends, maybe, your sense of value of yourself, maybe your sense of who you are and what you're doing in this life it's been under revision. But with this new moon in square, this is really asking you to get a little bit deeper with that and truly release any leftover trauma in terms of your self-worth and your self-value and where you value yourself. Because Pluto is trauma, Saturn is the past. This is something that has been coming up for you, and really what these planets here have been asking you to do is to release any trauma and limitation in terms of your value, your contribution, your self-worth, and what you truly choose to put out there for the world. And this new moon in the 11th house is highlighting the fact that if you release this trauma and limitation here, if you release the wounds of the past in terms of your self-worth and really get deep with yourself and understand your actual value, your actual self-worth, that this is going to open up a whole new area for you in terms of the people and organizations that you're surrounding yourself with. You're going to see yourself move up in terms of the gains that you're going to be making over the course of your lifetime, because this is a lifetime, guys. Like this Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, this is once in a lifetime opportunity. So maybe you incarnated to release something also from a past life. Maybe there's still some leftover residue that you need to release in terms of past life value to be able to move forward and to be able to move up that social ladder and the gains that you're going to be making from that 10th house, right? So there's that. So for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this is you, Capricorn. Like, so you yourself are needing to surrender something from the past. This is you maybe completely overhauling your body, right? So, but this is also trauma and limitations stored in the body. This is trauma from the past stored in the body that you need to release. So this new moon happening in your 10th house of career, of how you're known out in the world as well. So it's not just career, it's also your legacy and your public persona. This is how other people know you. This is how other people see you. This is your public appearance, right? And so as a Capricorn rising, you've been really under revision for the last several years in this. And with this new moon up in your 10th house, squaring those planets, you know, that are in your home house, this is your body, this is you. So there is some type of limitation and restriction in terms of your body and how you move throughout the world that you need to release. There is some type of stored traumatic injury from the past that you need to physically release and let go of and cut away from yourself in order to move forward with this new beginning that's happening in your 10th house of how people know you, of how people understand you. This could be grief. This could be traumatic experiences. You know, this, especially with, you know, the Mars also squaring everything too. For you, this is also what you're coming home to, right? So there's this complete overhaul that's happening for you, and this new beginning is asking you to surrender the traumas of the past in order to move forward with this new beginning in your 10th house and how you're known in the world and what you're doing. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is your 9th house and this is your 12th house. So this new beginning here in the 9th house, this is foreigners, this is foreign countries, this is your perspective and like how you view the world. This is also higher education, teachers and gurus. I'm not done yet, buddy. And the 12th house is endings, ashrams, retreats, hospitals, prisons, solitude. This is also dreams. I'm almost done. I just have Aquarius and Pisces and I'm done, okay? Sorry, my son woke up early. So for this is a new beginning. But with this new beginning, there's a surrender that needs to happen in terms of, well, this could also be a new relationship too with a foreigner, because the sun rules your 7th house, Aquarius. But I'll get to that. But what is happening here is there's this new beginning that's happening in terms of your 9th house, of your perspective on the world, and even your relationships with other people and how they're showing up in service to you, or for you. But what needs to let go, especially with this 12th house, I mean, Saturn, a malefic, well, there's 2 malefic planets, but a malefic planet in a malefic house, it's kind of like 2 negatives equal a positive, right? So this could see you this could see you releasing the traumas and the limitations of the past. This could see you, you know, really overhauling that 12th house and getting a deeper understanding of your vices and where your addictions are and where your, you know, where your limitations have been, you know, because Pluto and Saturn, limitations, addictions, restrictions, traumas, that kind of thing. And there's been a really deep evaluation for Aquarius here. And so what this could mean is that you're finally releasing all of these traumas, all of these, you know, from the past, these traumas from the past specifically because of the Pluto-Saturn conjunction there. To have this whole new beginning, maybe in a foreign country, maybe you're going to move, or maybe you start a relationship with a foreigner. Maybe there's somebody like Leo rules your 7th house, and this is a new moon in terms of a new beginning, and the sun is there for a new moon. So this could see you starting a new relationship with someone, but this could also see you starting a new, this could see you, because it is the moon and the moon rules your 6th house, this could see you starting new acts of service or really taking care of yourself. But this, yeah, this definitely could see you moving. This could see you, but you have to release something, right? So this new beginning in your 9th house, you have to surrender something from the past. You have to really walk away from any karmic attachments to the past that you have, any traumas that you have from the past. You need to really truly set them down and walk away from them the final time before this new moon can bring you something, because you have to surrender something is the feel that I get with this new moon. There's something that needs to be surrendered in order for something new to come in. So for Pisces, finally Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 8th house, Pisces. So it's also squaring your 11th house. So it's squaring the planets in your 11th house. So it's squaring Saturn and Pluto. So the 8th house, what is the 8th house? The 8th house is death. The 8th house is inheritances, taxes, traumas, other people's money. This is also a very healing house. It's considered a malefic house, but it's healing trauma. So there's kind of like this double whammy that's going on for you, Pisces, in terms also of healing traumas from the past of your social groups, because Pluto is trauma, Saturn is the past. So there's this release, there's this karmic release that needs to happen in terms of this 11th house of your social circles, of your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, your gains, the money that you're making from that 10th house. There's something there that you need to release in order to have this new beginning in terms of joint finances and other people's money and healing and, you know, inheritance and, you know, healing. This is very interesting for Pisces. Especially this could be maybe letting go of some organizations, letting go of, you know, traumatic experiences, especially in terms of your social groups, in terms of your friends. This could see you also letting go in terms of the 11th house. It's the second from the 10th. This could see you letting go of a small amount of, it could see you letting go of an amount of money over in your 11th house in terms to gain something in your 8th house. So there's a surrender that needs to happen. There is a trauma that happened. There's from the past that you need to let go of to be able to move forward with a joint project with someone that's coming up in terms of that 8th house. There's a release of, you know, something to do. Maybe you need to, you know, the 11th house is also internet. Maybe you have a small business and it's an internet-based business. Maybe there's something that you need to let go of in terms of an aspect of that business that has been laborious and intense and annoying and grating over the course of the last couple of years. And now with this new moon in your 8th house, there's a new way that you can do things in terms of being with someone and someone else taking that over in order for you to move forward. So it's a very intense new beginning, but it's going to ask you to surrender something in the process because Pluto and Saturn are in square with this new moon. Or this new moon is in square with Saturn and Pluto, right? So, and this is once in a lifetime. So this is really like a huge, like eviscerating overhaul of that 11th house and releasing of the traumas and the limitations of the past in order to move forward with something that's going on with you and your friendship. So that's it. This was a really long video, and I do apologize for that. I'm getting a little longer winded for whatever reason, probably just because there's so much to cover. But yeah, so I wish you all the best out there. Keep your head, make sure you're responding to everything that's happening. You're taking your time. You're not rushing through things. You're really giving your due diligence and trying to show up as a whole sovereign being, in these crazy times. So I hope this helped, and I hope you like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment, how this is shaping up for you over the course of these last several weeks, last several months, and what have you. So have a great week. Stay safe.